All right, let's kick this fantasy podcast. I believe this will be the third episode for week 2 of the SGS Fantasy Pod. I got my Zen pouch in. I got my fucking coffee. I'm ready to go. So I'm going to just go from the top to bottom. I'm going to go ahead and recap how the week went, who won, who lost, definitely who came out on top for like best players and stuff like that. So first game that I have is actually going to be me and Dylan first. So Jamar A. Lago versus Team Raina Tane Titty. So this matchup, man, was it close. And I was personally worried the whole day yesterday because I for sure thought I was going to lose. But I got really lucky that Dalvin Cook only put up 5 points, which is a bust for him. He should definitely be putting up more points than this. But for them being down the whole game, I can understand why he wasn't putting up as much points just because they weren't running the ball as much, especially in the second half. But, man, Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, I mean, arguably probably the MVPs for both of our teams this week. Josh Allen puts up 35.9 points. Jalen Hurts puts up 39.5. I mean, you can't ask for more from your quarterbacks. So, Darrell Henderson with 10.7 points. He did get a touchdown. Sharing carries with Cam Akers. We're going to have to see how that goes down the road. Mike Williams with 21. Keenan Allen being out. He was destined to have a good game, and he definitely showed that. Cortland Sutton with 16. Very solid. I mean, he is definitely going to probably be the number one wide receiver in my mind on that team if Jerry Jeudy's out. Mark Andrews with 21. I mean, you can't do anything about that. Mark Andrews is going to be putting up numbers every week. A.J. Dillon with 7.2. That one was a little shocking to me. Aaron Jones is going to be, honestly, the number one back for them. But A.J. Dillon splitting carries with them. He's bound to have good games and get more touchdowns in some weeks. Patriots defense with 10. Robbie Gould with 6. Now, for my team, Nick Chubb, I mean, he put up numbers this week. He basically carried the Cleveland Browns, even though they ended up losing. But 30 points, he had 3 TDs. You cannot argue with that. David Montgomery with 14.6. I mean, I'm pretty happy with his performance. He didn't get a touchdown like I was wanting last week, but he still put up a lot of rushing yards, and I will take that from him every week if I can. Jamar Chase, not the best week for him for his standards, 8.3 points. Cincinnati's just struggling. I'm kind of worried about this pick now just because of how much Cincinnati's struggling. Hopefully they can start putting some pieces together and start figuring out their offense. But I think Jamar Chase is going to have a better week next week, no doubt. Garrett Wilson, definitely, I would honestly say probably over Josh Allen. That was my MVP of the week because I had to start him over Chris Godwin, and he ended up putting up 26 points. He had 2 touchdowns, I believe. I mean, that game by himself, that's really making him starting to look like the number one wide receiver for the Jets. If he can keep up this play, he would probably be the steal in the draft in my eyes for me. T.J. Hawkinson with 4 points, he didn't do shit. Ramondre Stevenson with 5 points, didn't do shit. Graham Gano with 17 points. That was a big shocker to me. He definitely showed up for me when I needed it. And then the Colts defense with the fucking donut. They couldn't do shit to Jacksonville. So, but yeah, that was a really great matchup. One of the top matchups of the week. Very shocked that I came out with a win in that. But arguably, I think Dylan's team's top 3 best teams in our league, and me being able to pull a win out with that was really big. Moving on, I'm going to go to Team Burt and Team Gray. So this was probably the lowest scoring matchup. Let me see. I think this was the lowest scoring matchup out of all the games this week it was. Yeah, so definitely both teams didn't perform well. I'll start with Burt's team. I mean, Trey Lance getting hurt, that's a really big loss for him. He's going to have to go and find a quarterback on the waivers. I don't even know who's available. Probably Daniel Jones is the best available. You could also get Joe Flacco, too. Joe Flacco's up on the waivers as well. He's been having a pretty solid year. So that really sucks for him, but I think he's going to work it out. He's got a really solid team otherwise. I mean, Leonard Fournette with 8.4 points. Pretty average, I would say. I wouldn't say he did that well. Miles Sanders with 10 points. Devontae Adams with 8.2. He should be putting up more numbers than that. Rashad Bateman, that's probably the MVP of the week for Bert's team for sure. He had a really good game. Kyle Pitts with 2.9 points. I mean, he should be putting up more than that. He's been struggling so far to start the year. Mark Ingram for the flex spot only had 5.3 points. Cowboys defense with 9, and then Ryan Suckup with 10. Overall, let me look at your bench. Cam Akers, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him and Darrell Henderson, splitting carries. Russell Gage could have a big week next week if Godwin and Mike Evans are out. So, and he has Julio too. Yeah, so Julio, you got 2 Tampa Bay wide receivers. I'd probably put Julio in over Gage, but I mean, you're looking pretty solid for next week. Probably would definitely recommend starting one of those 2 over Mark Ingram. Now let's go to Jack's team. Jack, so he started Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones isn't on the waivers. I apologize. He had 16.6 points. Kareem Hunt with 8 points. Not the best game for him. Nyheim Hines, 5.7. Debo with 12.2. I mean, Debo's going to be putting over 10 points every week. I mean, he's obviously the number 1 wide receiver / running back for San Francisco. DK with 5. That was a disappointing game for him. Dalton Schultz almost put up a donut, 0.8 points. Chase Claypool with 4. Steelers defense with 2, and then Justin Tucker with 10. Definitely, this was the lowest scoring game of the week. I mean, not really a lot of big-time fantasy players for their teams, but MVP for Bert's team 100% has to be Rashad Bateman. I mean, he showed up. MVP for Jack's team, I mean, honestly, would probably have to be Daniel Jones or Debo. I mean, his team just did not put up a lot of points this week, and I'm looking at his bench right now. He had Joshua Palmer on the bench that he could have put in. Other than that, I mean, Jack's going to have to start making some moves on the waivers because his team, Alvin Kamara will come back probably next week, which will be big for him. But, yeah, you're going to need to see some more productivity out of your team if you're going to want to beat me next week. So good luck to you. But Bert's 2-0. I mean, that's a great start for him. I'm sure he'll take a win like that. Putting up 75 points too. I mean, hey, I'd take a win only putting up that many points. So going on to the third matchup of the week, we got Commissioner KD, so Kyle, and then Goose's Glizzy Gobblers, Chance Watford. So what a week for Chance to start off. I mean, definitely had the top team this week. I mean, his team put up numbers. I'll start with him. Lamar Jackson with 48.8 points. I mean, that's unreal. I mean, what a game for Lamar Jackson. Aaron Jones with a big game too. He had 30.5. Devin Singletary had 3.1. Stephon, 38.8. I mean, if you have 3 players going over 30 points every week, you should win every week by far. And his team did that. Jerry Jeudy with only 1 point, but he got hurt, so we'll have to see down the line if he's going to be available for the next couple weeks. It's so crazy that you put up 151 points and you had a donut from Cole Kmet. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 13.8, pretty solid outing. Broncos defense with 8, and then Matt Gay with 7 points. I'm looking at your bench, dude. Gosh, your bench is solid, too. You got Lockett, who had 15. Curtis Samuel had 19. That's a great pickup. I really like Curtis Samuel right now. Have him in my other league, and he's putting up numbers. And then having Carson Wentz as a backup. I mean, Carson Wentz, I believe, is the number 5 QB right now. He's putting up numbers. So, I mean, definitely has the best weapons around him that he's had in his whole career. So that being in your mind, I mean, great pickup for your backup. But Lamar Jackson's starting every week, no doubt. So now we'll go to Kyle's team. So Kyle's team didn't really perform well. Sucks for him because he's got some solid players on his team too, but just not a lot of great performances. Derek Carr with 23.9. He had a really great game. Najee Harris with 11.4. He should definitely be performing a lot better than that. He hasn't had a great start to the season. James Conner with 6.1. Same with him. his season, let me see. I don't think he did well in the first week either. Yeah, I mean, he put up 14, so that's not a bad game. But James Conner definitely needs to be putting up better numbers than that. Marquise Brown, don't understand why he wouldn't be number one right now with DeAndre Hopkins out. Had another disappointing game. Jarvis Landry with 4.5. I mean, just didn't play well. Pat Freiermuth with 10. James Robinson 14.8. Big donut from the Browns defense. I mean, they just could not stop the Jets in the fourth quarter. Dustin Hopkins with 6. Looking at your bench, man, I mean, honestly, the only start that arguably I would have done is maybe Devontae Smith over Jarvis Landry, but that's kind of iffy because Jarvis Landry had a good first week, so I could see why you started him. I don't blame you at all. Other than that, Jamal Williams, Sterling, Robert Woods, I mean, yeah, I would say that you have a very solid team, Katie. You definitely need to have these players perform the way they should perform. So down the line, we'll see what happens. But Chance with a big win, 151.7 to 86.7. I mean, Chance just absolutely blew him out of the water. 1-1 for Chance, and Kyle's starting the season off 0-2. So hopefully, wish you guys both luck. But Chance, man, your team is looking deadly right now. I would not want to play you come playoff time. So now I'm going to move on to the next game, next matchup, which is going to be Orlando tuck these guys and Team Horsecock. Pretty good, very solid matchup. This one was really close too. Could have went either way. I'll start with Connor's team. So Seth ended up getting the dub, won 117.7 to 111.5. Got to take a win off of that because Tuck's got one of the better teams in our league as well. Aaron Rodgers with 20 points. I mean, that's what he should be putting up every week. He should be putting up more points than that. But just very worried about his weapons in Green Bay. We're going to see how that all pans out. Christian McCaffrey with 14.8 points. I mean, he should, with his standards, he should be putting up better numbers than that. Saquon with 10 points. Definitely didn't do what he did the first week, but destined for another good game. A.J. Brown with 9. Brandon Cooks with 7. Wide receivers honestly hurt you into winning this week. Didn't really get a lot of points. I mean, a combined 9.4, 7.4, combined 16.8 points this week from your wide receivers. That'll hurt. You did put Christian Clark in the flex spot though. He had 22, so one of my favorite wide receivers that we have in the league right now. He is playing really well. Darren Waller with 14, Rams defense with 11, Greg Joseph with 1 point. Looking at your bench, I mean, really, the bench is what's not looking the strongest for Tuck, but it's really hard to have a good bench in this league with how many teams we have. Rashad Penny, I mean, Tyler Boyd, Devontae Parker, George Pickens. I mean, some of these players aren't putting up the numbers that they should be putting up too. So now I'll go to Seth's team. So 100% your MVP, Seth, is Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had a hell of a fucking week. I mean, the Dolphins look scary this year with how they're starting the year off. Tyreek Hill with 36.5. I mean, that is a monster game. Joe Burrow had 20.3. Like I said, we need to see how Cincinnati's going to do down the road because that offensive line is really, really messing their team up right now, and they can't get going on offense the way they should. Jonathan Taylor with 6.8 points. Very disappointing week for him. Melvin Gordon with 5.8. DJ Chark with a 0. He didn't do anything this week. I didn't even know that. Wow. Austin Hooper with 2.4. Man, your flex, Amon-Ra St. Brown, what a sleeper pick that I wish I personally would have picked up because he was available. I mean, he is having a hell of a start to the year. Number one guy in Detroit. Detroit's starting the year off pretty well with that win. 34.9 points. I mean, God. 10 points for the Packers defense, and then Matt Prater with 1 point. And then looking at your bench, man, you have a very solid bench too. Like, just the fact that you have George Kittle, who is out, but I think he's going to have a good chance of coming back next week. So you'll have a solid tight end coming back. T. Higgins with 16.1 on the bench. I mean, number 2 option in Cincinnati. Tony Pollard with 17.8. Jacoby Myers. I mean, dude, arguably Seth has the deepest bench in our league with who he has on his bench. I mean, he is scary with the team that he has as well. And he's probably, in my mind, top 3 in our league as well with his team. He just needs a couple players to start stepping up. Like Joe Burrow, like Melvin Gordon, Jonathan Taylor. But Jonathan Taylor is going to be stepping up. He's going to have more big games coming up this season. So, but Seth with the dub, 2-0 on the season. Tuck's going to be moving to 1-1 now. Now we got Justin Jefferson versus Sir Joe Punch-A-Lot. Andrew versus Carson. Man, wasn't this another really close matchup? I think the closest matchup we had of the week. It was, yeah. So what a close matchup between these two. Could have went either way. I'll start with Andrew's team. So Andy had Tom Brady starting this week. And, I mean, from what we were doing week 2, I would have started Brady over Tua as well. But, man, having Tua on your bench putting up that many points hurts because you could have easily won this week if you did that. But like I said, Brady over Tua, I mean, you can't really do anything about that. So Brady had 13.2. Joe Mixon had 9.8. Very disappointing game for him. He should be getting more carries. Ezekiel Elliott with 5.4. I mean, him splitting the backfield with Tony Pollard. It's one of them's going to have a good game every week. It's just who knows who, you know. CeeDee Lamb with 11.6, so he ended up doing his projection. Hunter Renfrow with 7.4, Gerald Everett with 10. I like him as a tight end this year. He's been getting a lot of looks. Brandon Ayuk with 8.8. Bills defense with 23. Daniel Carlson with 13. Definitely your MVP of the week, Andy, has got to be the Bills' defense. I mean, they absolutely shut out Tennessee, and then putting up 23 points. You would take that any day of the week, having a defense put up that many points. And then we got Carson's team. So barely got the dub. He won 103.6 to 102.3. Carson's team is very deadly, too. When they are putting up numbers, they are going to put up a lot. Kind of a down week for him this week, but Russell Wilson with 15.2 points kind of scares me how they're looking starting the year off with Russell Wilson being very slow. They got a dumbass head coach. I don't know what their head coach is doing half the time, but that's really what's hurting their team right now, but we'll see down the line how he does. Javonte Williams with 9 points, should have played better. Antonio Gibson with 11.1, Justin Jefferson with 7.8, which that could have made you lose having Justin Jefferson have a game like that because he should be the number 1 wide receiver this year in my eyes. But Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football, I mean, that ain't gonna help you. Chris Olave with 8.5, Zach Ertz with 11.5, Juju with 2.5. Golly, honestly, both of y'all's defense are the MVPs this week. You had the Bucs defense; they put up 26 points. Golly. I mean, both of y'all's defenses went absolutely off. So, arguably, those are the 2 MVPs for y'all's team this week. Tyler Bass with 12 points. And then looking at your bench, I mean, I really like your bench, too. You got Rondell, Michael Pittman, who was out this week. Noah Brown, I really like that pickup. He's been looking like he's been a very solid wide receiver for Dallas. Could be the number 2 while Gallup's out. So, yeah, very solid week for Justin Jefferson. He's gotten 2-0, and then Andy's starting the year off 0-2. So we'll see what happens down the line with those two. Now we got, man, we had so many good matchups this week. I got Bill Cosby's Margarita Mix and Team Dub. Jason Crew, another really close matchup. Both really solid teams. Crew has the number 1 team in my eyes in our league. Jace is up there. I believe he's got a really solid team as well. starting off with Jace's team, your MVP of the week was 100% Justin Herbert, 29.9 points, had a hell of a game. Derrick Henry with 8.5. What a slow start to the season for him. I'm sure he'll get going at some point, but that was a disappointing game for him. Josh Jacobs with 8.6. Mike Evans with 7.6. He's going to be out next week. Maybe. We'll see how the appeal goes, but if he's out next week, might have to hopefully see if Keenan Allen comes back, or you might have to go with Robbie Anderson. And then you got Allen Robinson with 13.3, finally had a pretty good game this week. Dallas Goedert with 10.7, Chase Edmonds with 4.6, Bengals defense 3, Jake Elliott 3. Now we'll go to Crew's team. Your bench, Jace, you got Brandon Bolden, Matt Ryan, Keenan Allen, Robbie Anderson. Not the deepest of benches that I've seen in our league, but definitely have Keenan Allen on the bench, which he's hurt, but when he comes back, your team will be way more solid. Crew, I mean, gosh, man. Pulled out this win barely. MVP of the week for him's got to be Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is probably going to be the MVP of his team every week because Cooper Kupp's going to be putting up numbers. 26.3 for him. Pat Mahomes with 22. Cordell Patterson with 4.1. Michael Carter with 7.5. McLaurin had 10.2. Kelsey was 7.6. I had Kelsey in my other league. I was disappointed with that performance. 2.1 for Robert Tonyan. Very surprised that you went with 2 tight ends this week in the league. You could have put Damian Harris in there. That's a big shocker. Huh. But, hey, I'll let you make your decisions. 49ers defense with 13, Nick Folk with 2. And then he's got a very solid bench as well. A.J. Green, Marcus Valdes-Scantling. You had Gabe Davis out, Damian Harris. I mean, your bench is solid. And when Gabe Davis comes back, you're wide receiver you in our league, no doubt. But, yeah, great matchup. Crew moves to 2-0, and then Jace is 1-1 now. Crew's team is deadly, probably number 1 in my eyes in our league so far, so would not want to play him as well in the playoffs. All right, then I got the last matchup of the week. It's going to be Swifty Murray and Jaden Waddle, your meat. Bryce against Connor. This one was a close one, too. I mean, we had arguably so many close matchups this week. I'll start with Bryce's team. MVP for you this week, arguably probably is either Kyler or Drake London. Drake London had a really good game with 20.6 points. I mean, just because he was only projected 9, I mean, that's a big game for him, and he's looking really good down the road. Could end up being the number 1 wide receiver for Atlanta. But Kyler Murray had 31.3. He had a really good game. DeAndre Swift with 15.7. He should be putting up numbers like that every week. Breece Hall with 12.5. Deontay Johnson with 10.7. And Darnell Mooney, I mean, I don't know what's going on with him this year so far, but he is having probably the slowest start to the year out of everyone, wide receiver-wise. Literally averaging 0.7 points a game. I mean, that's rough. I would arguably maybe look towards other wide receivers like Devin Duvernay or maybe Corey Davis to maybe fill in for him, or go with go with a running back for your flex and then put Drake London in that wide receiver spot, because right now Darnell Mooney is having one of the worst starts of the year I've seen. Evan Ingram with 8.1. Saints defense 6 points. Evan McPherson with 13. Bench-wise, I mean, you got some pretty decent pieces. Some players that could end up going off at some point every week. I mean, Corey Davis, KJ Osborne, J.D. McKissick, Khalil Herbert, Gainwell. I mean, you will take a dub any week, Bryce, and this was definitely a good dub for you, 118 to 108.7. And then I'll go to Connor's team real quick. I'll try to speed up this so this video isn't too long. Matthew Stafford with 24.2, Austin Eckler with 13.9, ETN with 6.8, DJ Moore with 11.8, Jalen Waddle is your MVP this week. I mean, him and Tyreek Hill had monster games. 34.6. What a game for him. Taysom Hill 1.4. Elijah Moore with 5. Commanders defense with -1. And then Brandon McManus with 12. That's what hurt you this week, Connor, was ETN, Hill not putting up anything, and then the Commanders defense giving you negative points. That hurts you very much. I personally would have started Amari Cooper over Elijah Moore this week. That would have been probably the only difference I would have made on your team, because Amari Cooper, I feel like he's number one in Cleveland. Elijah Moore, he's splitting a lot of attempts with a lot of those other wide receivers there, like Garrett Wilson, who had a big week for me. So, I personally would have started Amari Cooper this week. That would have been the only change I would have made. But other than that, big win for Bryce. Sure, that feels good for him. He's got a sleeper team. We will see what happens with that. So now I'll go ahead and go to week 3. Go ahead and give us a rundown of what we got coming up. So, alrighty. So I'll start with my team. So Jamari Lago versus Team Gray. So me versus Jack. Looking at the matchups this week. So we'll see what Jack does with his team. Here, I need to find a different way to look at this. Yeah, we'll just go matchup. So I'm projected 111.4. He's projected 86.6, but I know Kamara's probably going to come back, so that'll definitely raise your projected total up. See if you make any other differences in your lineup, but definitely really like this matchup. I think really what's going to be the key here is Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt going to have a big game, because them splitting carries in Cleveland. I mean, Kareem Hunt had the big first week. Arguably, Nick Chubb had a good week that week as well, but Kareem Hunt had the touchdowns. Nick Chubb took over this week. I mean, 3 touchdowns. He was having a monster game. I think that is the key for our matchup this week, is seeing how both of them play, because I think whoever outperforms who in that aspect will probably win this week. And then we do have some pretty good wide receiver matchups too. If Godwin comes back, I am planning on starting him, and then I might flex Garrett Wilson. We'll see, because I kind of want to take Ramondre Stevenson out this week. He's been disappointing so far for me. Other than that, it's looking like a really great matchup. Really, I think it does come down to those two, though, to see who ends up winning. So, I hate to say it, but I got myself this week, Jack. I feel confident that my team's going to be putting up the numbers to beat you. So we'll see how it goes, though. Don't want to be too confident, but I feel pretty good about myself this week. Next up, we got Team Horsecock, Goose's Glizzy Gobblers, Seth versus Chance. This is right here probably going to be the matchup of the week. I think that these two are arguably the best in our league. Goose coming off that big week with 151 points, and then Seth with the dub. This is going to be a really close matchup. I really like how this is going to plan out. Really thinking that with this, I think it's going to go down to the wide receivers. How the wide receivers play this week, because you got Tyreek Hill versus Stephon Diggs. I mean, they're both going to probably put up massive numbers, and they're both playing each other this week. So Miami is going to be playing against Buffalo at Miami. So this is going to be a massive game, probably going to be the biggest game of the week, I would assume, for this next upcoming football season. But this game is going to be massive. I think those two, how they plan out, is going to be big. If Judy's going to play, that's another big thing too. But, I mean, the thing about Chance's team is he's got Curtis Samuel on the bench and Tyler Lockett. So he could start either one of them this week, and they would be a good, solid backup for Jerry Jeudy. But, yeah, I think it's going to come down to those two. Whoever has the better game, how that game turns out will be massive. So, and then Corey Davis, Melvin Gordon. Yeah, so this is going to be a big week. We're going to see what happens with these two. I think personally I'm going to pick Chance. I think Chance is going to get the dub this week. Even though Seth is projected more, I think that Chance is going to have a big game. I really do. He performed so well last week. I think he's going to keep the streak going, so I think he'll go move to 2-1. Next matchup this week is going to be Justin Jefferson and Team Burt. Both 2-0. This is another matchup of the week too. So I mean, we got two really good matchups right here already. Carson and Hayden's team. So let's see here. I think I'm going to have to go with Carson on this week. I think Justin Jefferson's going to put up better numbers this week. I think Javonte Williams will have a bigger game as well. I would argue maybe taking Juju out this week and maybe putting in like Noah Brown or Chris Olave because Juju's had a really slow start to the season. I would probably maybe put one of those in for your flex. Other than that, I would keep everyone else in. Michael Pittman's going to come back. I believe that'll be huge for you. And then with Burt's team, the reason why I have Carson this week is because Burt now has to find a quarterback. And we don't have a lot of quarterbacks available in this league. So, I mean, he's going to have to probably try to get Joe Flacco. I don't know if you're going to get him or not. That's probably your best bet for this week. But having Trey Lance out is really going to hurt your team. Leonard Fournette, you need a big game from him and Devontae Adams in order for you to maybe put up a fight. But yeah, we'll see how this one goes. But I got Carson winning this week, and he's going to move to 3-0. Next matchup's going to be Team Dud and Commissioner KD, Crew versus Kyle. So this is a pretty close matchup too. I really like Crew's team. I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm going to have to go with Crew this week because I think he's just going to keep the hot streak going. But I think the matchup for this one, who needs to play the best for Crew's team, I mean, really looks like it's going to go down to the running backs because Cooper Kupp, I already know he's going to put up a big game. Ain't got to worry about him. But whose running backs are going to perform better? And Cordell Patterson, Damian Harris versus Najee Harris and James Conner. All these running backs did not have the best weeks this last week other than Damian Harris. Damian Harris had a pretty good week, but I think that's what it's going to come down to is the running backs in this league. See who outperforms who, and then that I think will show who wins this week. Seeing if y'all might need to make any changes, in my opinion, honestly, no. I mean, I think who y'all are starting this week are your best players, so I would definitely keep those lineups the same. But I got Crew winning this week. I think he's going to go 3-0. Next up, I got Jalen Waddle your meat, and Orlando Tuck these guys, not Browns. I don't know why I said that. Let's see. All right, so this one's kind of hard for me to pick too. I think just because of the fact that Connor's had a slow start to the season, I kind of want to lean towards Connor. I think Connor's team overall is a better team. I think if you switch out Amari Cooper for Elijah Moore this week, that would be massive. That would help your team out a little bit, Connor. I think Connor's going to pull it out this week. I think this matchup, it goes down to the running backs once again. Is Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey going to have a big game? Because those are arguably probably your two best players on y'all's teams, and they need to perform this week. We need to see what happens with those two. See if Jalen Waddle has another big game too. I mean, he's had a great start to the year. That'll be big for Connor's team as well. If he can have another massive game like he had last week, I mean, Connor could end up getting a dub maybe. So, but yeah, we got a really good matchup right here. But I'm gonna have to lean towards Connor. Connor's just got a better team overall. Connor Tuck. Connor Calavan, you're going to be going to 0-3. That's not a good start for you, buddy. Jace might have predicted you being last in our league right, unfortunately. But I wish the best for you, so we'll see what happens with that. Next up, I got Jace and Dylan. So Bill Cosby Margarita Mix versus Team Raina Titty. Dude, this one is gonna be a close one too, man. Gosh, this one might be the matchup of the week in my eyes because both teams are so close in projections. Justin Herbert, we got to see how he's going to be off that rib injury, and Keenan Allen too if he comes back. So I think that's your key this week, Jace, is having them two having solid outings, both coming back from injuries. So we're going to see how they play. Mike Evans is suspended, so that hurts you as well, Jace, which kind of sucks. So you have to put in Allen Robinson, which isn't a bad pick, and Keenan Allen. We'll see what happens with that. Dylan, don't really think you need to make any changes. I like A.J. Dillon at the flex. I would put him over Lazard and Thomas Thielen. I'd rather have a running back in that flex spot as well. Gosh, Dylan, you got such a deep bench, man. I mean, you have so many different options that you could put in. J.K. Dobbins, too. He could be coming back. That's big. Who knows how he's going to play off that. I think it was an ACL tear. So we'll see what happens with that. But, gosh, I really don't know about this matchup. I really think just because Herbert and Keenan Allen are coming back off injuries, I don't know how good they're going to play. I'll probably lean with Dylan's team this week. I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a bigger week. And then really the matchup I would look at right here would be Dalvin Cook versus Derrick Henry because both have had very slow starts to the season. I think one of them is going to have a big week. Probably both of them will have big weeks because they're destined to. I think that's going to be the matchup right there to watch to see who outperforms who. But yeah, I got Dylan this week. Dylan will move to 2-1. Now, last matchup, we got... All right, last matchup right here. We got Swifty Murray and Sir Joe Punch-A-Lot. So, Bryce versus Andy. This one arguably could go either way, too. I mean, this one is looking like it's going to favor Andy more. But we'll see. Kind of curious to see who you put in your second running back spot. You currently don't have anyone, so I'm assuming you're probably going to put McKissick. Maybe I'd probably put McKissick in. I would rather have him than Gainwell or Herbert. So we'll have to see about that. I really do like Andy this week winning. I think the matchup's going to be the QBs. We have to see how Kyler and Tom Brady play. I think Kyler probably will have the better week with Tom Brady not having all of his weapons. We'll see if Godwin comes back. But I got Andy winning. He'll be 1-2 on the year. Other than that, I think that is it. Wish y'all the best of luck this week, and let's get it, man. Let's get it.